Ready to start the live stream now. Oh, whoops. I will now call to order the regular City Council meeting of September 14th, 2020. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, this meeting is being held electronically, and members of the council are participating remotely pursuant to the council's electronic participation policy. Public access to the meeting is available on the local government access channel 8 for Comcast and Xfinity subscribers and on the city's YouTube channel online. Public access is also available by telephone by utilizing the call-in numbers posted on the meeting agenda. All callers will be muted and may only comment during the times allotted for public comment as indicated on the agenda. If you're on the phone, waiting to speak to council and are also watching the meeting on YouTube or channel 8, please know there are a couple of seconds of delay with the live stream. Please turn down your computer or TV volume as we approach the sections of the agenda reserved for public invited to be heard, so you can hear the council meeting on the phone and to prevent background noise when you're unmuted to speak. Those calling in and wishing to speak to council may text 303-450-8757 to sign up to provide public comment. Please note that you must connect to the City Council meeting by calling the separate call-in number listed on the agenda. If you prefer to not text your name to the clerk, please speak up and indicate your desire to provide public comment when prompted at the appropriate times. Once you have been recognized, state your name and address and provide your comments to the council. Thank you for following these directions and for maintaining meeting decorum tonight. Joanna, will you call the roll, please?
Mayor Leidy.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Wofford.
Here.
Councilmember Witkovich.
Here.
Councilmember Peterson.
Here.
Councilmember Downing.
Here.
Councilmember Brown.
Here.
Councilmember Goff.
Here.
Councilmember Duran Mollica.
Here.
Councilmember Escobar.
Here.
Thank you. Give me just a second. I'm going to pull up our flag. I apologize for the delays today. So here we go. I'm going to share my screen. And then I'm going to find it. All right. So please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh, now I gotta, this is much trickier. I'm so sorry. Okay. Are we back on the grid? All right. So, City Manager Geyer, are there any responses to citizen inquiry?
None this evening, Mayor Leidy. Thank you.
Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda? I don't see any. Okay. We're going to move into proclamations. And we have Constitution Week is the first one. And once again, I had a little trouble getting on, so I am not quite with the documents just yet. I wanted to get us started, but I need just a second to pull up the proclamation. Okay, the first one. Constitution Week. Whereas September 17th, 2020 marks the 233rd anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America. And whereas, as we remember the enduring importance of the Constitution, we also recognize our responsibility as citizens to respect and defend the values of our country and participate in the unfolding story of freedom. And whereas it is fitting and proper to accord official recognition to this magnificent document and its memorable anniversary, and to the patriotic celebrations which will commemorate the occasion. And whereas in celebration of the signing of the Constitution and in recognition of the Americans who strive to fulfill the duties and responsibilities of citizenship, the Congress, by joint resolution of August 2nd, 1956, requested that the week beginning September 17th and ending September 23rd of each year be proclaimed as Constitution Week. Now, therefore, I, Meredith Leidy, Mayor of the City of Northglenn, Colorado, hereby proclaim the week of September 17th through 23rd, 2020 as Constitution Week, and encourage all citizens to recognize and appreciate the importance of the Constitution and reaffirm our commitment to the rights and responsibilities of citizenship in this great nation. Dated at Northglenn, Colorado, this 14th day of September 2020. So, I do know that we have members of the Daughters of the American Revolution here to accept this proclamation. So if you are here, would you identify yourself and state your name and let us know you're with us?
Mara Nelson.
Hi, Mara.
Hi. And Erica Gilmore. Both of us are part of Front Range Chapter National Society Daughters of the American Revolution. And we thank you for participating in this important recognition and event.
Well, thank you for being with us tonight. We appreciate it. Do either of you want to say anything else?
Nope.
Nope. Okay. Well, we appreciate you being here.
Thank you. Thank you again.
Okay. Our next one is Hispanic Heritage Month, September 15th. Let me find it. September 15th through October 15th. So, National Hispanic Heritage Month. Whereas in 1968, the U.S. Congress authorized the observance of National Hispanic Heritage Week, and it was expanded in 1988 to a month-long celebration to honor our nation's Hispanic heritage. And whereas during this month, America celebrates the traditions, ancestry, and unique experiences of those who trace their roots to Spain, Mexico, the countries of Central and South America, and the Caribbean. And whereas Hispanic Americans have enriched the American way of life, and their commitment to faith, family, hard work, and community have helped unite us as a people. And whereas Hispanic Americans lift up our communities and our economy as entrepreneurs, executives, and small business owners, and make contributions in areas such as science, art, music, politics, academia, government, and sports. And whereas the City of Northglenn is proud to join communities across the United States in honoring Hispanic Americans whose leadership and achievement have significantly contributed to the progress of America. And whereas approximately 33% of our residents are Hispanic or Latino, and it is the diversity of our community that makes Northglenn great. We are proud of the many Hispanic Americans whose active involvement in our businesses, schools, churches, civic clubs, and local government is vital to our success. Now, therefore, I, Meredith Leidy, Mayor of the City of Northglenn, Colorado, hereby proclaim the month of September 15th through October 15th as National Hispanic Heritage Month, and encourage all residents of Northglenn to learn more about the rich Hispanic culture, traditions, and history, and celebrate the contributions that have been made to our country and our community by Hispanic Americans. Dated at Northglenn, Colorado, this 14th day of September, 2020. So I don't think we have any official recipients of today's proclamation, but are there any council members that would like to add to anything tonight?
Meredith, Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Yes, both Julie and I would be honored to accept this proclamation.
Thank you. Thank you. We appreciate it. Do you have any words to share, or are you good?
Adelante. Forward.
Well, I think it's just really important that we highlight this, since Latinos make up such a huge part of our community, and there's a huge diversity among them. I think it's important to remember that as well. You know, from those that reside from the homeland in New Mexico, to those that are from further away in Central America. We're a diverse group, and it's important that we celebrate all of our differences and everything that makes us special. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Okay. We are moving into public invited to be heard, 5 minutes per speaker. This is an opportunity for public comment on any item not set for public hearing. Statements are limited to 5 minutes per speaker. Statements must be related to city business and limited to matters of community interest. Has anyone signed up to speak to council?
Madam Mayor, I do have one voicemail, 4 emails to read, and there are several folks on the line. So it might be easiest if they unmute themselves if they wish to address council. So I want to let them know that they can do that by pressing *6, and that will unmute them. So while they're unmuting, if they would like to speak, I can start with the voicemail, if that's okay.
Sure.
Okay. So the voicemail is from Janice Carroll, and I will play that now.
Hi. I apologize. I started a message earlier and was interrupted, so I hopefully you will delete that one. My name is Janice Carroll. I'm a citizen of Thornton. I used to live in Northglenn, but I wanted this to be shared at council because I've heard a lot of comments about the police department, and I was in a car accident in Northglenn, and I just wanted to mention that I was at fault, and the other driver was very upset. And they called the police, rightly so. But the officer that came was very kind and patient to both of us, as I was a nervous wreck for just having gotten in an accident. And, you know, looking for my insurance card and just looking at my car, we had the whole front end come off. And the other person had some damage just to the outside of the car, so it's more cosmetic. But, you know, their car was new, so that was a frustration. But the officer was very calm, talked to both of us, was very respectful for me, calming for the other woman who I had the accident with. And I was issued a ticket, but he was very polite about it. And again, rightly so, it was my fault. And also, you know, when I was done, I didn't know what to do because I didn't know if my car would be drivable. The whole front fender was just barely attached at the right side, the passenger side, and just hanging off. And he took some extra time to help me figure out to see if we could detach my fender or to put it back on my car, which we were able to do. And I was able to drive it home safely. So I know there's a lot of conversation, but I just want to say, you know, for being at fault and for being in an accident, you know, it was a very nerve-wracking situation, but the incident was a very positive interaction with the police department. And I just want to say that I appreciate the work that they do, and having direct contact with them, it was a positive interaction. So thank you very much.
Okay, do we want to take, is there a caller that has unmuted? I don't hear anybody yet. Joanna, do you want to continue?
Sure. So the first email received is from Lee Stewart at 10690 Rosalie Drive. Her statements are, I am a widow as of last year. I do have another widow lady living in my home with me. We love seeing the Northglenn police going down the street. It makes us both feel very secure. We also have more widows on the street and a few men who have lost their wives. We also have a lot of single ladies on the street. We all love the Northglenn police and don't want to see any changes. The next email is from Debbie Burback. I am writing on behalf of NGPD. I am sending this email to let you know that I support the PD 100%. I have spent a lot of time with them as a victim advocate and a member of CPAN. I am required to ride along with them every year. I have never had an officer that was not respectful to the community, even when it is hard to not respond in a negative way. I have been with them when they make an arrest and when they had to chase a person down and are called names continually, treated disrespectfully, and the officers never lost their cool. I have been in booking and listened to the suspect say horrible things, and I have never seen them respond negatively. I have also been with officers when we have to tell someone that a loved one has died and when we respond to a death in someone's house. The officers go above and beyond when dealing with these tragic events. They are also respectful of us as victim advocates and allow us to do what we need to do and still be by our side to protect us. I have also worked with them on community events such as Christmas Crusade and National Night Out. Our officers in Northglenn work hard and deserve more respect. They work hard within our community to be visible and to protect us. Northglenn officers are great to work alongside and are a valuable asset to Northglenn. The next email is from Tracy Kilgore. Good evening, City Council. To those of you who are anti-cop, these last few months have been extremely difficult. There have been cops whose actions are inexcusable, tarnishing the badge and everyone in the profession. There have also been incidents where incorrect information has been reported, further stoking the flames of your disdain for law enforcement. Rioting and looting is not going to accomplish anything. Peaceful protests are where your voices are being heard. Things do not change overnight. Everyone on both sides needs to reach out their hand and offer solutions, not spew derogatory names towards law enforcement. If you are doing that, you will never be taken seriously and you are not helping the cause. You have often asked law enforcement to condemn the actions of cops that you don't agree with. You should be condemning the actions that you see displayed cities across our country towards law enforcement. To those of you who still stand with law enforcement, the silent majority, your voices need to be heard right now. Let's make Northglenn and the Northglenn Police Department the best city and department in all of Colorado. I support our Northglenn Police Department. Thank you, Tracy Kilgore. And then the last email is from Steve Blackburn. We have a really good police department here in Northglenn. The officers I know have been very helpful. Officer Jeremy Lund is an excellent officer. He teaches the Citizens Police Academy. He embodies the concept of community policing. Chief May is a compassionate leader, expecting excellence. His concept of community policing is ahead of its time. Sergeant Scott McNeely is a great policeman, in my humble opinion. Sincerely, Steve Blackburn.
Okay. So Joanna, would it be, maybe can we run down the phone numbers and just, I don't know, maybe the last 4 digits, see if they want to take their turn to speak?
Sure. I do know there is one phone number on there who notified me that they do not want to speak, so I will skip over that phone number and not put them on the spot. But there's a phone number with the last 4 digits of 9293.
Am I unmuted?
Ah, yes, you are. Welcome.
Hi there. This is Leslie. I'm just listening in for the neuro portion of the meeting for the MOU. But
Hi,
I
Leslie.
second everything everybody says about the PD.
Awesome. Well, thank
I don't know
you.
if you folks heard me or not.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. No, it was
Thank
nice
you.
to hear your voice. Thanks for calling.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
So I believe the other phone numbers are council who are connected by phone, and then the other folks appear to be also connected by video. So they may be individuals who have been invited for specific agenda items.
Okay.
We're good.
All right. Speak now, or we're moving on. All right. Thank you so much. Okay, we are moving into communications, and I had a request. Councilmember Brown would like to go first.
Thank you, Mayor. I really do appreciate that. I just wanted to take a minute and just discuss about what is supposed to happen during communications. Communications is not a place to speak about previous matters that have been addressed by council. This is a time for us to address what we've done, what's going on with the city, but it's not a time to go back and pull up previously topics that we've spoke about. I had this request by several council people that we go back to continuing our focus on what we're doing with the city during communications, and not take personal moments during those calls. So that's all I wanted to say, is that we would like to go back to the way communications were done before. And as parliamentarian, council members came to me to address the issue. If you have any problems with it, please feel free to send me an email and we can talk about it. Go, Julie.
Is that written down anywhere? Is there a procedure for communications that we have? I've never seen that before.
I actually asked Heather to pull it at the request of the other council members.
Okay.
And Heather is working on pulling it, I believe.
All right. Yeah. Well, I've been on council since 17, and I've never heard our communications be structured in any way. So
yeah, we've just recently been going off task, and our
I
fellow
feel like council members should be able to say what they are elected to say. So that's our opportunity to do so.
Right. We need to find a different time to do that, Julie. That is not our opportunity.
And that's fine. Yeah, we can find another time on the agenda.
Our opportunity to do that is at a different time. Our opportunity for communications is at the beginning. And like I said, several council people came to me with the request to use my parliamentarian skills today and bring it up. So I will let you know what happens with that and get back to you on it.
Becky.
I'm sorry, who was that?
This is Jenny. I'm just trying to understand where this is coming from, because in the past, we've never had a council member make a unilateral decision without having a full discussion that was public.
I believe that this is in.
I'm still speaking.
Okay.
So I'm just trying to understand where this is coming, because I also have been on council since 2017, and there's never been parameters specifically around what we were able to address. I always understood that that communications was the opportunity for us as elected officials from our particular ward to share what was going on with our ward, to bring up additional information or share other thoughts as necessary. So if this is being changed, I want to understand where it is in the council protocol, and I want to understand if this is truly a full council decision that's being made here, or a Becky decision.
This is not a Becky decision. This was brought to me by.
Talk about it as a council.
Okay, let me finish talking now, Jenny. Thank you. So kind of you. This was brought to me by City Council. We have not been veering off topic until recently during our communications. There's a separate communications block for the legislative policy, and there's a chance for us to all communicate. As I said to Councilmember Mullica, we are pulling the information. It'll be forwarded to you as soon as we get it. I think during a study session, we can talk about the protocol of it. This isn't the right time for that either. This is our time to communicate what is going on in our wards. What are we doing? What meetings are we going for? those kind of things. And as soon as I get that information, I will gladly share it with everybody. But I think it's really important to know that this is not a Becky Brown thing. This was not even anything that was on my radar. This was brought to me as parliamentarian, and I'm addressing it as I was requested to do by your city council. So thank you very much. Is there even a
majority of council members who support this? I mean, this is completely in the dark here.
This isn't a change, Julie. We'll get you the documentation.
It is a change, Becky. This has never happened before. It has never been announced.
You know what? It was in your... I know you've been here almost, 3 years? Almost 3 years. I'm well aware of that. We have not started to drift from the meaning of communications until the last couple months. We can get you the documentation if it does exist. I am under the impression that it does exist because that's what I asked for. So as soon as we get that information, we'll send it to you. If you too want to have a conversation about bringing it into communications, I would suggest that you bring it to a study session following the proper protocols of going through the city manager for a conversation.
Okay, well, until the conversation happens, we can't actually decide that we're having a different protocol change unless the entire council talks about it. So as for tonight, it's not happening.
I am not changing protocol. I would never do that. And if I did it, I'd follow the proper channels. I was just asked to speak about this during our council member.
Well, I would have to say, as a new person, I haven't heard anything about what the communications are about to this specific level. And to have this request being made now and you said you had asked Heather to look up information, but we don't have it yet. So it seems a little premature to be making a declaration about that today, because I am at this point very confused.
Well, I'm just telling you that your fellow council members had brought it to my attention.
Ooh, Becky.
You know what? Yeah. If you want to do it at a different time, I would gladly bring it out. But much like I would never call you out on anything that rude and inconsiderate, I will not call out on this call the fellow council members that have called me. It's just not going to happen.
Well, my
understanding. Catherine, whoa, we're going to stop. We're going to move into communications.
Thank you, Meredith.
Becky said her part. She has more information coming. Everyone gets their opportunity to speak. And I know it's not a council protocol, so maybe it's a Robert's Rules piece. I'm not quite sure, but it sounds like Heather is getting us the information, and we will move from there. We will continue. We will go back to Councilmember Peterson and start with Ward 1.
Say me, Mayor?
Yes.
Great. The outside agency funding met this week and took a look at some requests for proposals. And we continue to take a look at allocating money for community nonprofits with the CARES Act.
Okay. Councilmember Witkovich.
Thank you, Mayor. I also attended the Outside Agency Funding Committee. Also back on September 1st, Councilmember Peterson and I had our second virtual board meeting for Ward 1, and I think that was a success. And so thank you to all the residents who could attend. That was great. On September 8th, I attended the Historic Preservation Committee. Kind of some exciting things happening there. We are working on a historic preservation plan. And so we're in the very beginning stages of that. And I'm sure we're going to be scheduling some extra meetings or some sort of retreat to work on that. And then the the commission also received the donation of an original hutch that was in the old farmhouse. And so we're going to put that back into Stonehawker. So that's kind of exciting. And then I also attended the Parks and Rec Advisory Board on September 10th. As far as the rec center goes, they're on schedule and on budget, so that's exciting. And they've also hired a new parks project manager. And so I know Amanda Peterson was really excited about that. Other than that, that's all I've got tonight. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Downing.
Hi there. I don't have anything this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Duran Mullica.
Thank you. Yeah, so we had a a couple things that we had going on. So on September 3rd, we did our first virtual meeting, a Ward 3 meeting. So it was very exciting for Catherine and I. It was great to see, you know, some of those faces that we've really missed over the course of the year. So it was good to reconnect with people, and you know, we had a good turnout, which I was really surprised. So just really excited that everyone just kind of jumped onto that opportunity. Other work has, for me specifically, has just been RTD Accountability Committee has been plugging along, and I got assigned to the Governance Committee. So we're going to be really hitting the ground running on that over this next week. So I think that's all I have. And finally, I'm just going to say, I think that it's so important that we continue to follow council protocols whenever anything comes up. Please, let's follow council protocols. That's my only request. Let's not spring things all over the place. Follow council protocols.
Thank you. Councilmember Goff.
Thank you, Mayor. Let's see. Yes, I want to thank all of our Ward 3 residents who participated in our virtual town hall. That was a good experience. I think we got a lot of information going both ways there. I am on a subcommittee for the homelessness task force, and so we met and had a lot of good ideas generated, and we've got some actions that different members are taking, and we'll be reporting out later this month, I think, as a whole on the homelessness task force. Let's see. The other thing, as a member of the CC4CA, I have testified earlier, well, at the end of August, I guess it was by now, in front of CDOT about electrification of heavy trucks to help reduce the air pollution, especially since we have I-25 going through our city. And then later this week, I will be speaking to the Air Quality Control Commission in their public comment meeting on issues of greenhouse gas emissions and just how to keep the air quality in Colorado safe for all our residents. And I guess that's it for right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Escobar.
Thank you, Mayor. Other than the virtual meetings that I'm proficient at, and last week, and the outside agency funding, I have nothing to report. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilford.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First, Councilmember Escobar and I are going to be doing interviews for our selections for the Diversity, Inclusivity, and Social Equity Committee. I do have to say I was really deeply impressed with the applications that we received. They were so diverse and truly representative of all of the folks that call Northglenn home. So I feel like it's going to be a bittersweet process to interview all of these amazing folks and only be able to choose one. Second, we are working on setting our date for the next board meeting. So I hope to be able to report out about that and some of the topics that we're going to cover at our next council meeting. And then last week we had a Colorado Communities for Climate Action Policy Committee meeting. There is a ton going on at every venue regarding rulemaking, both with the Colorado Oil and Gas Commission, as well as with the Air Quality Control Commission. And then, as Catherine mentioned, around the Advanced Clean Truck Rule. A huge thanks to Catherine for jumping in and testifying. She did such a fantastic job representing the city. And I think that this is an area for us to really engage in because it does have a major impact for our residents, their air and their quality of life. When we think about cleaning up emissions directly from medium duty trucks. So according to the state, they've got a number of other stakeholder meetings coming up, and then they're going to proceed with the rulemaking and aim to have that wrapped up next July. So definitely something to keep tabs on. It's definitely a big deal. And then just briefly, around council protocol. I guess I'm really confused. I thought that we had spent some time updating council protocol and establishing the, I guess, essential chain that we as council members agreed to when we're introducing new ideas. And I was under the impression that we were supposed to send an email to council outlining what changes we wanted to make, addressing why this change or this policy that we should be looking at needed to be adopted or explored quickly, and then explaining a little bit more about the issue or sharing any research that we've conducted. And so I'm having a really tough time understanding where, you know, the parliamentarian felt like it was appropriate to try and suggest a change without giving any of council notice. So I hope that in the future, our council protocol policy will be followed because it applies to everybody, not just some council members. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. So I did cut off Councilmember Brown before she did her update. So what do you have, Councilmember Brown?
I did attend the NER meeting last week, and we've got some really exciting things coming to where we have some really exciting things coming that we may be coming to the city for some help on. It was a great meeting. It was very, very short, but it was great. We will be having the Ward 2 virtual meeting on the 22nd. Joyce and I will be handling that one. And Joyce and I also did our reviewed our applications. I wanted to, maybe I misunderstood, but Councilmember Wolford had said that sending one application forward. I thought we were sending two applications forward and one for member at large. Is that what it was, Mayor?
Rupa, thank you for popping on.
Sure. Yeah. So you are right, Councilmember Brown. Each ward is going to select two to represent the ward for the diversity board, and then from your remaining applications, you can select up to two to move towards the at-large application pool.
Perfect. And thank you, Rupa, for doing such a great job to get us all lined up. I think it's all in one day now, and I really do appreciate that. And I know Joyce does too. That's the only updates that I have. I would like for Heather, when it becomes her time, to speak a little bit about Claude Court, Heather, and because my phone calls aren't stopping. And I think it's important that we talk about it on this call, although we didn't have anybody call in. So if that's appropriate, I would appreciate it.
Okay. So for me, kind of looking back, I you know, I'm just going to say it. I enjoyed having Labor Day off. It was a very nice 3-day weekend. So we're back at it. I think what I'm most excited about is the end line. It's all the rage right now. I'm very excited. So I get to join a group. The mayors will be taking a ride on the 17th. So that'll be fun. I'll get a sneak peek. I'm excited about that. And then we have the event on Monday. So, you know, we will have our celebration to celebrate the artist and how beautiful the station is. And that'll be really fun. And then there is a bigger ribbon cutting grand opening at the East Lake Station following our ride. Now, because of COVID, not everybody can ride and not everybody can come. Unfortunately, we will definitely record it and have that available on social media sites. But what I want residents to know is that for a full week, starting the 21st, I believe, rides are free. So you have to wear your mask, but you should definitely plan a ride. Figure out how long it takes to walk or ride your bike to the closest station to your house, and then take it somewhere fun. It'll be great. I'm so excited. So that's kind of what's really on my radar for this week. And that's all I have. So City Manager, what do you have tonight?
Thank you, Mayor Lighty. A couple of items for interest this evening. I wanted to mention that I sent out the tentative future agendas to council, I believe yesterday, and included on that document, we have scheduled the homelessness task force to come to council, well, virtually anyways, and share their recommendations on October 19th. That's the date. So just wanted to clarify that date. And Councilmember Brown asked me to speak to Claude Court. So I'll share a couple of things. I'm aware that we've received a handful of complaints about the installation of speed humps and the striping work that we've done on Claude Court. This is a traffic calming project that dates back to before really early 2018. So before I came on board in early 2018, I believe it was February, the city hosted a community meeting with residents. There was a direct mailing that went out to residents in the neighborhood that live along Claude Court, and it was determined that there were issues with speeding and that there was a desire by residents to implement traffic calming measures. So certainly I can send out this information to council later if you desire. But I do have information regarding, the speeds prior to the implementation of traffic calming, which ultimately included the installation of permanent speed humps. Most recently, we do have delineators for those speed humps that should arrive tomorrow. We have received complaints from some residents, we can't see the speed humps and things like that. So we're going to work with some delineators, which will help better identify where the speed humps are beyond the colored marking that's actually on the speed hump itself. This is a project, as you recall, that we did use our temporary speed humps with in 2019. So through the use of temporary speed humps, as well as the addition of permanent speed humps, in addition to permanent striping and narrowing of the roadway, we've seen an overall decrease of speeds on Claude Court. So before the asphalt speed humps were installed, average speeds within the 85th percentile were 30.3 miles per hour. And then following that installation, they average about 26.6 miles per hour. So the traffic calming measures that council approved and have really made an investment of well over $180,000, these traffic calming measures are working. So I'll stop there, and Councilmember Brown, or is that what you wanted me to speak to? Is there anything more specific?
I think that's exactly what I wanted you to speak to, Heather. I think it's important for the other residents in Ward 2 especially to understand that we invited everybody to the meetings. We took their recommendations of what they would like to see for the street, and we acted on that. So I really do appreciate you spelling that out for us. And I know the residents of Ward 2 would appreciate it too. Thank you.
Sure. And that's all I have tonight, Mayor.
Thank you. City Clerk, Joanna.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't have anything.
Okay. Corey, how about you?
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of council. Just two quick things. Since it has been a while since we last met, I did attend the virtual CML conference. And as is often the case, I got a lot of good information, some of which I didn't know because we spent a lot of time talking about Senate Bill 217, but there were a couple other pieces of legislation that I'll be sending correspondence to council about that impact the city. And then there has been a great deal of discussions going on related to the opioid litigation, related to both local government and the state, and how our interests hopefully can be reconciled. And I hope fairly soon to be able to report in more detail on that, but the discussions are ongoing. And that's all I have tonight.
Okay, thank you. You do look like you've been banished to a guest room or something.
I have.
I'm a little worried about that sugar daddy sign, Corey.
All right. Okay, we are moving into the financial update. We have Jason Loveland. So I will share my screen. Jason, or do you want us just to look at the reports? We don't always project your monthly report.
However you would like to do that.
Anybody have a preference? It's a little more challenging today, so keep that in mind. Okay, good. Jason, tell us what you got.
Let's go through the
highlight.
Let's see here. So through July, we're going to report. I'll touch on sales and use tax to start. You'll see that sales and use tax was down 9.8% compared to the previous year. That's something that we've been seeing repeatedly since COVID-19. We actually were a little bit more positive in our returns in July. We were actually only down 5% for that month to give us a year-to-date total to be down just under 10%. So that was actually a positive for July. You'll see some of the sales tax numbers in the executive summary. You see some positives with food tax up about 15%, marijuana tax up 7%. Auto use tax sales in town have dropped quite a bit, so 21% for the year, and sales tax down a little bit over 7%. I will say in the last couple of weeks, we received so these are June numbers that we report in July. We now have our July numbers, and things were actually more positive, and you will see more of this next Monday when we talk about the budget and how we try to forecast year-end projections. But I'm sure you've heard of the V-shaped curve as far as a recovery. In our sales taxes right now, hopefully you don't have a second wave that negatively impacts the region this fall, but we are seeing a V-shaped curve, which is positive here locally in Northglenn. So I'll touch on the general funds worksheets here. Let's see. So you'll see on there, total taxes is down just under 3%. Property tax again was up based off of the assessed valuation over 23%. So we're offsetting some of that sales and use tax decrease through that property tax. As you go down the line, intergovernmental revenues show that they're up 48%. That's a little deceiving. That includes over $500,000 of CARES Act revenue that we received. If you exclude that, we're actually down about 4% in those revenue lines. Licenses and permits are down 16%. A lot of that is down about 78% with permits. So that would be park use permits and things of that nature. Plan review fees are down significantly. We'll see, a portion of that is plan review fees from the prior year for Carl's Farm. And then investment earnings, those are down. 1-year treasury last June was yielding about 1.92%. And right now it's at 16 basis points or 0.16%. So taking a hit in pretty much every category on the revenue side of things. But overall, general fund revenues are down 3%. So we don't have a presentation on this right now for tonight, but if you recall, we talked about, this was in April or May, kind of the impact that the pandemic was going to have, kind of the low, medium, high impact scenarios. We're trending right now to have a medium impact, maybe just slightly better than medium, so more towards low, which is, I guess, overall a positive, knowing that things could have been worse. And so I'll keep my fingers crossed that this fall stays the way that we're trending right now. General fund expenditures, Again, we're through 58% of the year and we've spent 46% of the budget. This is fairly typical for this time of year, as we'll see some salary and benefit increases as we accrue the final period, pay period in December. But overall, you'll see some of the departments, I guess, that stand out a little bit more than others. The city manager department, there's an increase in salary benefits year over year with an addition of a position. So that explains that difference. Similar with the city clerk's office, planning and development, some safe built review fees are up slightly in that grouping, giving that a 13% increase. And overall, general fund expenditures up about 6%. Again, this includes CARES Act funding. If we take that out, our expenditures in the general fund are up 3% for the year. And skipping over to the wastewater or to the water fund, you'll see, I guess, the biggest highlights here on the revenue side. Water use charges are up over 18%. So a big portion of that is consumption is up just under 11%. We've had a very dry year. A lot of people are home, and we also have the small rate increase that adds to that. But water use is up, and I think that's probably occurring in most every household today. In the wastewater fund, highlighting that on the revenue side, charges are up just over 7% at about $2.4 million. Expenditures are in line with what we would expect for the year. And then on the stormwater side of things, the revenues are down 4%, and that's due to $9,000 less in tap fees. There was no changes to rate structure or really any growth that would show an increase to those charges. And then expenditures are down slightly due to a grant that was received in the prior year. And then the last fund we'll talk about is the sanitation fund. Revenues are relatively flat. You'll see in the trash charges line item being down, less than 1%, and that's attributable to $4,000 less in pickup charges for like special pickups and things like that. But overall, financial situation is pretty good in the utility funds. The general fund clearly is hurting a little bit. We've seen that over most of the year. We'll expect that to continue over the next several months. And then let me go to the next section here. And then our cash and investments at the end of July were at $82.5 million. And that's up from $70 million over the prior year. We've seen some accumulation in our capital projects fund, and then somewhat in our general fund as we do have slowed revenue growth, but we've also reduced some of our spending throughout the year. And did anybody have any questions about that portion or any other piece of the report?
Any questions for Jason? It is nice that it's not as bad as it could have been. And we did, I believe, make some really good choices when it was critical. So I appreciate your work with that as well.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving into the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Joanna, will you call the vote, please?
Mayor Leidy,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilford,
Yes.
Councilmember Whitkovich,
Yes.
Councilmember Peterson,
Yes.
Councilmember Downing,
Yes.
Councilmember Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Goff,
Yes.
Councilmember Duran Malika, Councilmember Escobar.
Yes.
I will close that vote and the consent agenda passes unanimously.
Excellent. Okay, now we're moving into public hearings. We will start with CB 1951. Joanna, will you read the title?
A bill for an ordinance amending section 5-8-8 of the Northglenn Municipal Code regarding the timing of the public hearing on the annual budget.
I will now open the public hearing on CB 1951. Joanna, do we have any comments or is there anyone signed up to speak?
There is no one signed up to speak and I have not received any emails or voicemails.
Is there anyone on the phone who would like to speak either for or against CB 1951? All right, hearing none, I will close the public hearing. All right, moving into ordinances on second reading. We will start with CB 1951. Is there a motion to approve on second reading?
So moved.
Second.
All right, Jason Loveland is here and he will provide a summary of this item.
This is probably one of the more exciting ordinances that you'll see in your careers. This ordinance is going to remove the reference to the public hearing for the budget being held by September 30th to align. There's in our municipal code, we're going to take that out to align with what's in the charter. Really just remove that reference to September 30th, which was a dated reference. So.
Okay, anyone have any questions for Jason? Nope. Okay, Joanna, will you call the vote, please?
Mayor Leidy?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilford?
Yes.
Councilmember Whitkovich?
Yes.
Councilmember Peterson?
Yes.
Councilmember Downing?
Yes.
Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Councilmember Goff?
Yes.
Councilmember Duran Malika?
Yes.
Councilmember Escobar?
Yes.
I will close that vote and CB 1951 on second reading passes unanimously.
Great, thank you. Okay, the next one, CB 1952. Joanna, will you read the title?
A bill for an ordinance amending Chapter 8 of the Northglenn Municipal Code regarding certain municipal court fees and costs.
Move for approval.
Second.
Okay, Judge Bailhash is with us to provide a summary of the item.
Yes, so I first visited with you about this in December, provided an update in July. I think that it's time to update the municipal code as it relates to these specific courts and fees. And I guess that's what it is. We need to create something for sealing criminal conviction records because the statute changed last year. The recommended amount is $85. Changing the amount for a deferred sentence or deferred prosecution to $100. And then adding an area for court supervision fees.
Any questions or discussion on this item? No? Okay. Joanna, will you call the vote, please?
Mayor Leidy?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilford?
Yes.
Councilmember Whitkovich?
Yes.
Councilmember Peterson?
Yes.
Councilmember Downing?
Yes.
Councilmember Brown? Councilmember Brown,
Sorry, I was reading the agenda thingy. Yes.
Councilmember Goff,
Yes.
Councilmember Duran Malika,
Yes.
Councilmember Escabel.
Yes.
I will close that vote. NCV 1952 on first reading passes unanimously.
Okay, we are moving into resolutions. CR 128. Joanna, will you read the title, please?
A resolution approving a memorandum of understanding between the City of Northglenn and Continuum Partners LLC regarding a public-private partnership for the implementation of Phase 2 of the Civic Center Master Plan.
Move for approval.
Second.
Okay, and I had a note that there is a presentation starting on page 5. So we have Debbie Tuttle, our Economic Development Director, is here to provide a summary of this item. Right here.
Good evening, Mayor. This is actually Heather. I'm going to kick us off and then we'll transition to Debbie, and then Eric NZ, our senior planner, will wrap up the presentation this evening. We also have members from Continuum here, Mark, CEO and founder, and then I believe one of his colleagues, Mike Anderson, with us. So if you'll go to the next slide, Mayor, please. Why are we here tonight? For members of the public, general citizens, council had a vision going back many years ago to really create a unique space, which we now refer to as our Civic Campus Master Plan. This plan was adopted by City Council in the spring of 2017. Next slide. When we refer to our Civic Campus, the site that we're referring to is shown here. We've outlined it in a yellow boundary. You can see the existing recreation center site, the construction of the new recreation center, and we're definitely farther along than what this image shows here. And then you can see our existing City Hall building and E.B. Raines Park off to the east. The site overall totals 21 acres, and the redevelopment plan that we're going to be discussing the creation of the MOU for this evening consists of 11 acres of this site. Next slide, please. Within the Civic Campus Master Plan, council and members of the community, there was a robust community input process into development of this plan, had identified these 6 guiding principles for the plan, to include that the space is vibrant, valuable, strategic, connected, sustainable, and contextual. So through numerous community input sessions, if you go to the next slide, Mayor, the council ultimately adopted this original concept plan. This is how we're going to refer to this particular concept as the original concept plan. So this is what was included in the adopted master plan in 2017. As you recall, we did do a market check-in through a series of interviews with developers in the summer of 2018. And that work has really been catalytic for us to get us to where we're at today, to be in the position to be presenting you with a MOU to recommend a partnership with Continuum. When we did this market check-in, it was very insightful. And as you know, as we've been having these discussions, this concept plan is evolving. Next slide. Council has already made a couple of changes to the plan, and the most significant thus far is when you look at the configuration of Memorial Parkway. We realigned the configuration of Memorial Parkway based on recommendations from the development community and their feedback in terms of some potential impacts that the original configuration of Memorial Parkway could have on the overall redevelopment of the site. So that's been a major piece that, Memorial Parkway, if you go out there to the site today, it's been constructed. There'll be other aspects that have yet to be done, but it's definitely a foundational element of the overall project. So as of January 2019, this became the concept plan. And so this will be pointed out later in the presentation, I believe when Eric does his portion, but we'll hone in on what we refer to as the two major super pad sites of the 11 acres that are available for development. And with that, I'll turn it over to Debbie.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Next slide, please. So where are we at now? Where have we been? City Manager Geyer did provide a background on that, but just for the public purposes of telling people exactly where we've been. Again, on April 10th of 2017, Council adopted the Civic Center Master Plan. On February of 2019, 2 years later, consultant was brought in to do the market analysis, the demographic analysis and consideration of the Civic Center Master Plan that Heather Geyer had provided some information on, where we realigned the Memorial Parkway. April 2019, Council directed staff to engage in the selection of the private development team. We went out to ICSC conference, which is a retail conference, for 2 years, actually. We started that in 18 and in 19, and started talking to the development community. Also, we had personal one-on-one meetings with developers of almost 30 of them to talk about the actual project, the concept, what they thought about it, and pretty much pitch the project. In August of 2019, NERM bonded $11.5 million for the public infrastructure. And this was put in place so that it would put in the infrastructure along Memorial Parkway and also help tie into the private sector development for the developer coming in. In September of 2019, as you know, we started on the Rec Center, Senior Center, and Theater. As you can see, that is under construction and is going very quickly. If you haven't been out there lately, definitely take a look at that. Next slide. January 2020, staff released a formal RFQ concept to seek interested parties to be a master developer. So again, now we've gone out, we've done our homework, we've talked to the developers, and now we go through the public side, the procurement side of going out and getting a request for qualifications and a concept to seek a master developer. In April of 2020, we received 4 developers that submitted an RFQ-C. We selected the top 3. We reviewed the proposals, we did formal interviews, and we did follow-up questions and discussions after that. And then on August 3rd, Council directed staff to start discussions with Continuum. Continuum was chosen, the caliber of Continuum's team, for its experience in creative development projects. The team's execution of projects such as Belmar and Bradburn Village and the Denver Union Station, a stellar, top-notch national developer. On August 31st, staff was directed to develop an MOU with Continuum, which we have for you tonight for consideration. Next slide, please. And as City Manager Geyer was talking about, this gives you a little bit of idea of the 11 acres. So everything in the red is the 11 acres. There will be a parcel carved out of there to be determined for the new City Hall. As we go through this process, going from concept plans into more site development plans, then we'll decide where the City Hall will go. Next slide, please. So again, as we said, the master developer we chose was Continuum Partners. We're really pleased to have them and to start the negotiations, and the Memorandum of Understanding tonight will allow us to start that process. Next slide, please. So what is a Memorandum of Understanding? The city commits to negotiate only with Continuum regarding the sale and disposition of the redevelopment of the 11-acre sites. We also will work with them as partners to create a revised concept plan in the general terms of an actual redevelopment agreement. This will help us advance discussions to develop the framework and the expectations to begin negotiations. This is a non-binding statement by both parties to guide negotiations. It also establishes an exclusive negotiation period. As I said above, the MOU provides that we negotiate only with Continuum. If no formal agreement is made by February 21, the city manager can authorize an additional 90 days in case we should need that. Next slide, please. So working toward the redevelopment agreement, or the RDA. So development of a revised concept plan. Again, the pictures that you saw earlier were truly concept plans. Now what we do is we roll up our sleeves and we start looking at the different land uses, the general layout of the development areas. This will help ensure that what is being proposed will be consistent with the intent of the master plan. And the revised information will be presented to City Council as the project develops over time. As well as we will be doing community outreach. This will not include information such as architectural building design and other specifics. Again, those will be part of the development and design guidelines, which Eric will be talking about in just a moment. So what is the next steps after the MOU, as after council considers this MOU tonight, is the development of a preliminary term sheet. And this is another step toward the development of the redevelopment agreement. Continuum will present general terms of the agreement, including a purchase price, funding, timeline, and city hall coordination. Next slide, please. And then again, both the concept plan and the preliminary term sheet will be presented to City Council on November 2nd for their review and consideration. And if both parties agree to the terms, staff will use the preliminary term sheet and concept plan as a basis toward formalizing, formalizing a redevelopment agreement. Next slide, please. And now I'm going to turn it over to Eric Enzi, Senior Planner, to talk about what is that development process. Eric?
Great. Good evening, Mayor and members of Council. Just to go over real quick, what happens once the RDA is approved, basically we'll go into a period of pre-development and entitlement process. And for informational purposes, that's a period of time that can last for up to 18 months. So it's a pretty lengthy process in this overall scheme. Pre-development consists of what we talked about a little bit, which would be design guidelines. This would be developing with the city and the developer would be working together on certain standards for development for the site. This will ensure kind of consistent development throughout the entire development, consistent with what the city has invested in the rec center, theater, and senior center as well. So it's looking at things such as landscaping, public open spaces, building massing, amongst some other things that will be taken into account through design guidelines. This is a recorded document and it does become information that needs to be incorporated. Secondly, the developer will begin their architectural design and further revamping and finalizing their site plan layouts, which would then lead towards entitlement by the city. So if we can go to the next slide, please. So that's the next step, would be the entitlements. This can include a number of things. I've given kind of 3 ideas here, and these will be kind of vetted out as the process unfolds. But the city does require site plan, a major site plan required as part of UDO, the UDO provisions. This is approved, reviewed and approved ultimately by the Planning Commission. But City Council will have definitely some input in the site planning process through this conceptual plan phase that we'll be looking at. Also in terms of platting, if there's a need for property lines for different development parcels, then platting will be taken into account, and then also civil plans for any public infrastructure that may be required as part of the developer's proposal as well. Next slide, please. So what I really wanted to do here was just kind of close by giving you kind of our timeline for this and moving forward. Just note the dates. November 2nd has been brought up to you this evening. That's a joint council NERA executive session where we will present the revised concept plan as well as the preliminary term sheet. So that's kind of the big next important date. Up before that, we will work with council and NERA on some visioning sessions as well as site tours. So those are things to keep in mind, and you can see the rest of those dates, and we'll remind you of those as we get closer on. Next slide, please. So in summary, staff is recommending council consider approval of Council Resolution 128. Like Heather said at the beginning, we are here to answer any questions you may have. The Continuum team is also here this evening if you should have any other questions. Thank you.
Okay, do council members have questions? Oh, let me put my camera back on, sorry. Hello. Any questions? So I guess I did have a question if there were members of Continuum, but it was sort of what Debbie was talking about is the City Hall piece being in addition to later. Is it not a part of, can you clarify that piece for me?
Eric, why don't you talk about that a little bit and or Continuum, either one.
Sure, I'll go ahead and start off and Mark can probably hop in as well. We'll be working with Continuum up front here on City Hall coordination. So that'll include where on the site that's going to be located, how that will work into the RDA agreement, and the terms associated with that. So we'll be working on that with them up front. Likely we'll be proceeding, looking at our portion of that of the City Hall, but it'll be simultaneously with them proceeding forward.
And I can weigh in, Mayor, that
that'd be great.
The plan's pretty tight. So in order for City Hall to fit appropriately into neighborhoods in the integral part, it's clear that shared parking and even how the building addresses the sidewalks and things like that is going to be an essential part of the plan and the planning diagram, and we're going to have to really coordinate that together pretty actively. I think there's a real opportunity to have City Hall play even a more active kind of role embedded in this neighborhood than currently does now, and how it's detached and we're going to have to really organize that together and coordinate that as part of the overall plan, especially with the parking. But also, I think it's really essential that if we want City Hall to be an activating use within the project, we're going to have to think carefully together about how to accomplish that.
Okay. Anybody else have a question? Okay. Well, I think we'll move on. Joanna, can you call the vote, please?
Mayor Lighty?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilford?
Yes.
Councilmember Witkovich?
Yes.
Councilmember Peterson? Councilmember Peterson?
Yes.
Councilmember Downing?
Yes.
Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Councilmember Goff?
Yes.
Councilmember Duran Mollica? Yes. Councilmember Escabel?
Yes.
I'll close that vote, and CR 128 passes unanimously.
Okay, we are moving into, make sure I go in order, CR 118. Joanna, will you read the title, please?
A resolution approving a professional services agreement between the City of Northglenn and Providence Infrastructure Consultants for engineering services for the wastewater treatment plant odor mitigation project.
Move for approval.
Second.
Thank you. Okay, we have Kent Kisselman, Director of Public Works, here to provide a summary. Hi, Kent.
Good evening. Thanks for having me. So this is a resolution for an oxygen injection system. In the springtime at the wastewater plant, we have the 2 lagoons that were decommissioned in 2017 with the Headworks project, and we still have 2 remaining active lagoons. And in the spring and probably coming up here in the fall, when the temperatures fluctuate and the water temperature in those lagoons change, we receive a lot of calls as the wind blows and blows that into neighborhoods. So in the 2017 project, we did have an oxygen injection system that was proposed to be placed on the site, which would help mitigate some of those odors. And that was removed for financial reasons. So once again, in this project, Providence Infrastructure is designing our force main and our lift station A project. And we have an opportunity to kind of resurrect that plan and add it to our force main lift station project as it is now. And that would be placing this oxygen injection system. It's on the site at the wastewater plant. Before it would reach our wastewater treatment facility, we would be directly injecting the oxygen into the material that comes down the force main prior to it getting to our station. So that would help mitigate odors. So with that, attached is a resolution that, if approved, would authorize the mayor to execute a contract between the city and Providence for the design of the wastewater treatment odor mitigation project in an amount not to exceed $169,629, and authorizes the city manager on behalf of the city to approve minor changes in the scope of services and execute relevant change orders up to the approved expenditure limit of $186,591.90. And we recommend approval of this resolution. And I'll answer any questions you have.
Thank you, Kent. Councilmember Brown.
Hi, Kent. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. The budget number that you give me that, but would you mind giving me the budget number again?
The budget number for the entire project?
Yes, please.
So we budgeted $3 million in 2020 budget. And then so there's a chart or a table in your memorandum.
So I'm looking at it. Thank you. So the only thing that we're approving tonight is this $169,629 for the odor mitigation?
That is correct. So this would just be, this is a separate contract, but it will go under that total addendum or a total appropriation for that project.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions for Kent? I'm just going to say thank you. We did have quite a few phone calls, and I think it's great that we're getting ahead of it before the weather changes. So thank you. Okay, Joanna, will you call the vote?
Mayor Leidy?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilford?
Yes.
Councilmember Whitkovich?
Yes.
Councilmember Peterson?
Yes.
Councilmember Downing?
Yes.
Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Councilmember Goff?
Yes.
Councilmember Duran-Malakoff?
Yes.
Councilmember Escobar?
Yes.
I'll close that vote, and CR 118 passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Kent. Okay, moving on to CR 120. Joanna, will you read the title, please?
And actually, I'm going to go back to CR 119.
Okay.
So That is a
Oh, I'm sorry. I skipped one completely. I apologize. You are right. CR 119.
a resolution approving the subdivision improvement agreement for the 104th and Irma Convenience Minor Subdivision.
Move for approval.
Second.
Okay. So we have a presentation. Hi, Brooke.
Mayor and Council.
Brooke is here with us tonight. Here we go. You mean to stop here?
Page 14.
Oh, page 14. Okay.
Yep.
I'll keep going. Well, I'm stuck. Sorry. Okay, title slide. Here we go.
First off, so good evening again, Mayor and Council. I'm going to cover the next 3 agenda items with this slide presentation, just for purposes of continuity and also to help put a sort of a bow on the context of how all 3 of these agreements are related to this entitlement. Next slide, please. So we have 3 items tonight: the subdivision improvement agreement, a permanent access easement, and a license agreement. Next slide. So this project is located on 104th Avenue, the former Charlie's Auto site just east of Irma. Next slide. So this project is actually has 2 entitlements for an administrative approval of a minor site plan and a minor subdivision. However, because of these agreements, those require council action. And so that's what we're here to discuss this evening. Next slide. So the applicant is 41581 Northglenn, Colorado, LLC. Wonderful name. It's actually 7-Eleven. They are acting on behalf of the owner, Charlie. And basically what we are doing here is that we are having the west lot developed and the eastern lot will remain undeveloped at this time, but basically creating 2 separate lots from the existing parcel. Next slide. And this is what the gold line represents the original configuration. The red line represents what will effectively be the 2 new lots. Next slide. And this is the minor site plan that I referred to earlier on in the presentation. This is what the new 7-Eleven will look like. And just for frame of reference of what they're proposing there. Next slide. So with that, there's a subdivision improvement agreement, which is the first item that you're taking action on tonight. Next slide, please. With that, they are proposing to build a sanitary sewer line to the property. Under the SIA, essentially it requires a guarantee and assurances that the public infrastructure will meet city standard. It also will require them to record a financial guarantee, and then it will be warranted for 2 years. This is standard to all of our SIAs, and just a reiteration, just to remind council that these standards are being applied to this public infrastructure. Next slide. And with that, before I go any further, are there any questions on the subdivision improvement agreement before I move on to the next item?
I do have a question, Brooke. I'm pretty sure that the north side of 104th is us. Do we need to have a partnership with Thornton because this is going to impact such a busy thoroughway?
No, we actually control this portion of the right-of-way. We do have a joint IGA for access control and traffic control with the signalization along the corridor, but we do not need to coordinate with Thornton on this one. Okay, moving on, the permanent access easement. Next slide. So this property is actually physically separated by a tract parcel called Tract 41, which is owned by the city, but is not public right-of-way. And so the developer for this property actually needs 2 separate access points to secure an easement across city-owned property. And that's the purpose of this access easement. We did this similarly for the Cube Smart, which is just to the east of this site, I believe a year and a half ago. Next slide. And this graphic basically depicts the two access easements that are reflected in the resolution. These are the locations in which those access easements traverse Tract 41. Okay, any questions on the permanent access easement? All right. So
Councilmember Brown had her hand up.
Sure.
Sorry, Madam Mayor, I can't for some reason bring that little wavy hand up.
That's
So
okay.
are the easements going to go out onto 104th Brook? Or are they're both of them?
They connect the property through Tract 41 to 104th.
Will there be any entrance through Ermidal?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. All right, last item, license agreement, CR 124. And next slide. So in addition to bringing public infrastructure, the sanitary line, which was mentioned earlier, we'll see a graphic in a moment. Also, the property owner is looking to do some landscaping improvements within the city-owned property. What this license agreement will do is it will enable them to do those improvements within the city-owned parcel of land. It will be their responsibility to maintain, and we have the ability to rescind the license if we choose that we have a need or purpose for this. It's essentially intended to accommodate all of their landscaping and utility connections. Next slide.
Brooke, is this going to have a gas station?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
So just the green shaded area is that area of Tract 41 that this license agreement area covers. And then the following slide. This is just a blow up of that easement area, and which is essentially proposed, which is some landscaping of some shrubs, as well as the utility connections that will run through this property for purposes of the development of the site. And I believe the next slide is just for any more questions that we may have.
Councilmember Brown.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Hey, Brooke, I'm just wondering, because of some of the other sites and I guess my involvement in NERA, is there any possibility of any environmental issues when they start tearing up Charlie's?
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, I think what will ultimately end up happening is that they will have a civil team out there doing field observations, and if they identify any contaminated soils, they'll have to comply with CDP-H&E if they do encounter that. Generally, what will end up happening is they'll have to get a hazardous waste permit for the excavation of the materials. If they do not relocate the materials off the site, then if they keep them on the site, as long as they do proper mitigation, they won't require any special permit.
Okay. And is the owner staying the same?
So the west half will be owned by 7-Eleven, the east half will be owned by Charlie.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Any other questions for Brooke on this item? I appreciate you putting it all together. I think it's fascinating to envision a 7-Eleven at that site, and what that will do to the traffic.
I will say this: one of the things that's unique in this is that this is actually one of these situations under the new UDO where this approval is actually administratively approved except for the agreements. And so one of the challenges we had as staff is how to present this to council in a meaningful way that doesn't look like a public hearing, because really you guys are just taking up action on the three resolutions and not actually on the site plan. So we were trying to be mindful of that while still giving you a complete picture of what it is you're acting on.
No, I appreciate it. It was very thorough. Councilmember Brown.
Hey, Brooke, did this have to go through the Planning Commission?
No, this qualified as a minor site plan and minor plat, which was allowed to be administratively approved.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I know what we're talking about is CR 119. Joanna, is there a way to lump them all if someone moves, that we can approve them as a bunch, since Brooke did such a good job of putting them all together?
Sure. If there's a friendly amendment that's accepted, we could combine the motion to approve CR 119, CR 120, and CR 124.
Anyone up for that?
I would accept that friendly amendment.
Second, yeah.
Anybody disagree? Okay, so we are going to be voting on the approval of all three as a package. Do we need a motion again? No? Okay. Joanna, call the vote, please.
Mayor Leidy?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilford?
Yes.
Councilmember Witkovich?
Yes.
Councilmember Peterson?
Yes.
Councilmember Downing?
Yes.
Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Councilmember Goff?
Yes.
Councilmember Duran Malika?
Yes.
Councilmember Escabel?
Yes.
I will close that vote. And CR 119, CR 120, and CR 124 all pass unanimously.
Great. Thank you for that. Okay, CR 127. Joanna, will you read the title?
A resolution approving change order number 1 to the agreement between the City of Northglenn and Gold Star Concrete Incorporated for the 2020 Concrete Trails Program.
Motion to approve. Second.
Okay, Kent is back with a summary of this item.
I'm back.
Hello.
Yes. So on July 13th of this year, we approved the contract for Gold Star Concrete. And right around that time, Amanda brought it to my attention that in our community development block grant fund, or the Conservation Trust Fund, we had additional funds, and that fund fluctuates from some years it has $200,000 and some years it has $50,000. Well, we thought it was a $50,000 year, and she was great to point it out that we had an additional $150,000. So we went ahead and approved that original contract on July 13th, so Gold Star could get going, knowing that we would be coming back to do this change order. In the meantime, we had a walkthrough out at the RTD site, and Brooke pointed out that the trail leading from the RTD station to 112 was incomplete. And we discussed it internally and thought that this would be a good use of those funds to concrete up that trail and then use the remaining funds for trails identified under the parks and rec area. So we have those all in line. Gold Star's been doing a great job so far on the project, and this will just be a smooth transition into the work they're already providing. So attached to this memorandum is Council Resolution 127, a resolution that, if approved, would authorize the mayor to execute a change order to the 2020 Concrete Trails Program contract between the City of Northglenn and Gold Star Concrete Incorporated in an amount not to exceed $172,918. And we recommend approval of this resolution, and I'll answer any questions.
Any questions for Kent? No? Okay, Joanna, will you call the vote, please?
Mayor Leidy?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilford?
Yes.
Sorry, thank you. Councilmember Witkovich?
Yes.
Councilmember Peterson?
Yes.
Councilmember Downing?
Yes.
Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Councilmember Goff?
Yes.
Councilmember Duran Malika?
Yes.
Councilmember Escabel?
Yes.
I will close that vote. And CR 127 passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Kent. Bye, Brooke. Okay, our next agenda item are the discussion items. We have an update on the My Brother's Keeper pledge. So I will share my screen. We have Rupa with us tonight, assistant to the city manager, to provide an update to council.
Mayor and council. Yes, so thank you for sharing. I have a brief presentation for you tonight.
Okay.
And if you don't mind advancing to the next slide, please.
Sure.
So My Brother's Keeper Alliance is a national organization, and you can see their mission statement on the screen. And in response to Black lives lost due to police actions, and particularly George Floyd's death on May 25th, 2020, My Brother's Keeper Alliance called on mayors in June of 2020 to commit to addressing police use of force policies. In June of 2020, Mayor Leidy, City Manager Geyer, and Police Chief May all took the pledge. The mayors who took the pledge committed to the following actions that you will see on the next 2 slides. So there's 4 different actions that the pledge asked mayors to take, and I've outlined the steps that the City of Northglenn has done to date. So the first is to review your police use of force policies. So this was done through the Police Department 360 assessment by Barry Dunn, and the implementation of SB 217, which is the Enhanced Law Enforcement Integrity Bill that Colorado passed. And you'll hear more from City Manager Geyer and Police Chief May on September 21st during the study session, where they'll be discussing recommendations specifically on body-worn cameras and dash cameras. And again, that's September 21st during the study session. The second part of the pledge was to engage communities by including a diverse range of input, experiences, and stories. So on July 10th, prior to Barry Dunn speaking to the City Council to review the assessment, a virtual bulletin board was put up on our City of Northglenn page, along with the PD 360 assessment to gain input. And then on July 29th, we did a telephone town hall with Barry Dunn, Mayor Leidy, City Manager Geyer, and the police chief. On August 12th, City Attorney Hoffman and City Manager Geyer, along with Barry Dunn, reviewed some police citizen oversight board models. And City Manager Geyer will, per City Council direction, will follow up on that on September 28th. On August 24th, City Council created the Diversity, Inclusivity, and Social Equity Board. And as you know, City Council right now is going through those interviews and will officially be appointing those members on September 28th through resolution. And part of, or one of the major tasks of the Diversity Board is to really go out and do community listening sessions and to gain an understanding of what our community wants in terms of those issues. So the third part of the pledge is to report findings of your review to your community and seek feedback. So again, the PD 360 assessment, the final report was made on July 10th. There was a presentation to City Council on July 22nd, and we've heard a lot of public input since then from our community. And again, as City Manager Geyer mentioned, in September 28th and September 21st, she'll review the prioritization of those recommendations from the assessment. And then finally, the last, reform your community's police use of force policies. So this is something that's an ongoing commitment. It's not something that we can complete in 90 days. It's something that City Council and the City Manager has committed to on a long-term basis. And I just want to point out that originally the My Brother's Keeper Pledge on their website, they did have a 90-day time commitment, but that's no longer on their website. And what the organization has said is that they will be reaching out to mayors should they want to start collecting those stories on what cities have done. So if the organization does contact Mayor Leidy or City Manager, we as staff will be happy to help answer any of their questions, to contribute to stories that they are collecting. And with that, I will turn it back to you, Mayor.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions or comments? I appreciate, Rupa, that you put that together. It was a nice summary of the work that we've done. Councilmember Goff.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, a couple of things. One is that under the number 1, you have as a bullet point implementation of Senate Bill 217. And I think what we really need to highlight is early implementation of that bill, because many aspects of that bill do not have to be are not required by Colorado state law until 2023. And to just put that bill on there, it's like, we didn't pass that bill, the state did, but we are choosing to implement parts of that earlier than required. So I think that's something to highlight. And then I guess engaging the community, I'm not really sure that the police citizen oversight board models, how much community engagement we got in that. We did hear from people who were encouraging us to do it. And then here today, we heard people who were encouraging us to, respect and honor our police, which I don't think those are in conflict, but we also didn't come to any kind of a decision on that one. So I hope, I would think that might be in the ongoing commitment area more than the second point. But, however you want to put it, I just want to encourage everyone on City Council and those residents listening to this to keep in mind that we are still working on that. And we had very early on committed to doing some kind of community police, whatever the 360, and then the review, the 360 review also encouraged us to do the co-community production policing or whatever their name for it was, but that we continue in the direction. And that's so they're really questions, just comments, but thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Brown.
Can we get a status update on the body cams? I know that the mayor had been working with other mayors across the state and looking at possibly bulk buying. Do we have any additional information on that?
Yeah, Heather does.
Heather.
Yes.
Thank you for asking. We have a whole presentation PowerPoint on implementation, a recommended approach that we've put together for body cams and dash cameras that we'll talk with you next week as part of the overall budget work session. We're also going to walk you through an updated 7-year staffing plan. The one piece that if I could take the liberty of pointing out, I was going to ask this, Mayor, is we're still working, staff's still working on the 45 priorities. And so I'm not yet ready to bring that back to council and say, this is what the implementation plan is going to look like. So you're going to have some of this in pieces in order to keep it moving along faster. So again, I'll be bringing the police oversight board models topic back to council on September 28th. And that's following the hybrid recommended approach for community co-production policing that was discussed in early August. I know it's a mouthful, but I'll keep all of these pieces moving forward and won't let you lose sight of them. So next week with budget is dash cams and body cams, 7-year staffing plan.
Thank you, Heather.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Any other comments? Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I don't have a comment that pertains to this. I'm just wondering if everybody could mute themselves. We're getting a lot of breathing that's just a little distracting.
Sorry, that might be me. Okay. Anybody else? No? Okay. Well, Rupa, thank you so much. I really appreciate you putting that together. That was a nice summary of the work. And actually, council should be really proud of what we've accomplished over the last couple of months. Okay, we are in our final stretch here. Public invited to be heard. This is an opportunity for public comment. Statements are limited to 3 minutes per speaker, and they must be related to an item previously addressed by council during the meeting. Joanna, is there anyone who would like to speak at this time?
I haven't received any emails or voicemails. might just pause for a couple seconds to see if there's anyone on the phone line who might want to speak.
Okay, doesn't sound like it. All right, we need to move on to the next item. I will entertain a motion to adjourn to executive session.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, so we are going to vote to adjourn to executive session pursuant to section 4.5A of the City of Northglenn Home Rule Charter for personnel matters regarding council appointee evaluations. Joanna, will you call the vote, please?
Mayor Leidy?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilford?
Yes.
Councilmember Whitkovich?
Yes.
Councilmember Peterson?
Yes.
Councilmember Downing?
Yes.
Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Councilmember Goff?
Yes.
Oh.
Councilmember Duran Mullica?
Yes.
Councilmember Escabel?
Yes.
I will close that vote and the motion to